I was standing by our bed, folding the last of my shirts into the suitcase, when my phone rang. It was Sabrina. That wasn't unusual. She called me often, usually with reminders or little updates about our son, Jason. But this time, her voice carried an unfamiliar urgency, a tremor that made me straighten up instinctively. Honey, you need to stay. Jason is in the hospital. He needs you. My heart stopped. The neatly packed shirts and vacation itinerary ceased to matter. What happened? My voice came out sharper than I intended. It's bad, she said, her breath hitching as if she were trying to hold back tears. He's been sick all day. I thought it was just a fever, but it got worse. He collapsed, and I had to rush him to the hospital. The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in as panic took hold. Jason was only 6. He was my whole world. The idea of him lying in a hospital bed, small and vulnerable, made my stomach twist painfully. I'm coming. I didn't even hesitate. The cruise, our long-awaited family vacation, could wait. Jason was more important. He had to be okay. I didn't even finish packing. I zipped the suitcase shut and shoved it aside, rushing out of the room. My hands shook as I grabbed my car keys, my mind racing. How had I missed the signs? Had he seemed sick this morning? No, he was fine. He was running around the living room, showing me the little paper boat he had made for the trip. He was laughing. He was fine. Or was he? Had I been too distracted by work, by trip preparations, to notice? The guilt gnawed at me as I sped through traffic, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. When I reached the hospital, I practically ran inside. My pulse pounded as I approached the front desk, barely able to get the words out. My son, Jason, last name? He was brought in earlier. Please, I need to see him. The nurse frowned, typing into the system. Her fingers moved too slowly, each keystroke stretching out my agony. I don't see a Jason, last name, admitted today. My breath caught. What? No, there has to be a mistake, I insisted. My wife just called me. She brought him in. The nurse gave me a sympathetic look and checked again. Sir, I'm sorry, but there's no record of your son being here. I stood there, frozen. That didn't make sense. Sabrina said she rushed him here. She was panicked, crying. How could there be no record? Maybe she brought him to a different hospital. That had to be it. I pulled out my phone and dialed her number. It rang twice before going straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. Something was wrong. Then my phone buzzed. For a moment, hope flared. Maybe it was Sabrina explaining everything. Maybe they had transferred Jason somewhere else. Maybe. The notification on my screen made my blood turn to ice. A photo. A cruise deck. Laughter. Sabrina. Not in a hospital. Not at Jason's side. On the cruise. She was standing in the sunlight, her dark hair pulled back, sunglasses perched on her nose, a drink in her hand. Around her, her family was smiling. Her sister, her parents, and right beside her, his arm casually draped around her waist. Kellen. A new caption blinked at me like a slap to the face. Best vacation ever. My stomach lurched. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding so violently that I thought I might pass out. Jason wasn't sick. Jason wasn't in the hospital. Jason was never in danger. She lied. Sabrina lied to me. I didn't even realize my fingers were tightening around the phone, my whole body shaking with fury. She never wanted me on that trip, and she had gone to unforgivable lengths to make sure I stayed behind. I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My breath came in ragged gasps, my pulse hammering in my ears as I stared at the picture on my phone screen. Sabrina was laughing, not grieving, not at Jason's hospital bedside, holding his tiny hand, praying for him to recover, not even slightly concerned about the frantic, terrified man she had just deceived. No, she was on our family vacation, the one I had worked hard to afford, the one I had dreamed about for months. And she wasn't alone. Kellen. His name alone made my jaw clench. I had tolerated him for too long, brushing off my instincts, ignoring the way he always seemed too close, too comfortable around Sabrina. He's just a friend, she always said. Don't be ridiculous. But there he was, his arm around her waist. his drink raised in a toast. And my wife? She looked happy, radiant. A sickening realization churned in my gut. She had planned this. She had known, from the moment she booked that trip, that I wouldn't be coming. She hadn't just tricked me at the last minute. This was months in the making. The thought made my stomach twist. My thumb hovered over her contact name as I hit dial. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. I called my in-laws next. No answer. My stomach clenched tighter. It was like they had all gone off the grid. My hands trembled as I reopened the photo, staring at the people in it. Her sister, her parents, Kellen. They were all in on it. And where was Jason? That question sent me into a blind panic. I pulled away from the curb, my tires screeching as I raced toward his school. If she had lied about the hospital, what else had she lied about? The drive was a blur. My mind spun with possibilities, each one worse than the last. I stormed into the school, my voice barely controlled as I spoke to the receptionist. Is Jason here? She blinked at me, caught off guard by my urgency. Yes, he's in class. Is something wrong? Relief hit me like a tidal wave. He was safe. At least she hadn't done something even more insane, like taken him out of school and left me in the dark. No, I muttered, my throat tight. I thought he was sick. She gave me a sympathetic smile, clearly assuming I was just a worried dad. No, he's been perfectly fine all day. Would you like me to call him up? I almost said yes. I wanted to see him, hold him, just to make sure. But I shook my head. No, let him finish his day. I walked back to my car in a daze. Jason was safe, but that didn't lessen the betrayal gnawing at me. She lied to me. She looked me in the eye and lied about our son being sick. She knew I would drop everything. She knew I would panic. And she didn't care. My hands trembled as I scrolled through my phone, opening the family group chat. A message had just come in. From Jeremy, Sabrina's cousin. Wish you were here, man. The water is insane. You would have loved it. Attached were more pictures. I nearly crushed my phone in my grip. In these new photos, Sabrina and Kellen weren't just standing close. They were touching. His hand rested casually on her thigh. She wasn't pulling away. Another picture showed them on the beach. Sabrina in a bikini, her body angled toward Kellen like they were on a honeymoon. I wanted to be sick. Jeremy, oblivious to the chaos unfolding, sent another message. Kellen really came through with the room upgrade, too. He got you guys a suite. Oh, wait, guess it's his suite now. LOL. His suite now. The words burned into my brain like acid. I had been erased. Not just from the trip, from her life. Sabrina had stolen the vacation, taken my place, and was now parading around like a woman who wasn't even married. I should have seen it. All the late nights. The quiet phone calls. The sudden extra attention to her appearance. The way she started spending more and more time with her family, subtly pushing me out. How long had this been going on? I felt like a fool. A blind, naive fool. I gripped the steering wheel, breathing heavily, forcing myself to think. Reacting emotionally wouldn't fix this. I needed to be smart. I needed to know everything. Instead of driving home, I went somewhere else. My in-laws' house. If anyone knew the truth, it was them. And if they thought they could just ignore me and let this blow over, they had another thing coming. I knocked on the door hard. Not a polite knock. A demand. Sabrina's mother answered, her face pale when she saw me. Oh, you're supposed to be... She stopped herself, guilt flashing in her eyes. I stepped forward. Supposed to be what, exactly? Sitting at home? Waiting for my wife to come back and pretend this never happened? She swallowed. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is, I snapped. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like Sabrina just lied about our son being hospitalized, so she could sneak off on vacation with another man. Using my money? Her face paled further. She hesitated. And then, in a hushed voice, she whispered something that made my blood run cold. I told her not to do it. I stared at her, my heart thudding like a war drum. Do what? My voice was dangerously quiet now. She sighed, looking away. She planned this for months. We all knew. We just didn't think she'd actually go through with it. My fingers curled into fists. And the money? Her silence told me everything. I already knew the answer. Sabrina had drained our account. She had planned everything, and I had been nothing more than an obstacle. But she made one fatal mistake. She thought I would sit back and accept it. She had no idea what was coming next. The ride back home was a blur of rage, disbelief, and cold, calculating thoughts. The pieces were falling into place, and they painted a picture I never wanted to see. My wife, the woman I had trusted, built a life with, raised a son with, had orchestrated an entire betrayal behind my back. She hadn't just wanted a vacation. She had wanted me out of her life. I couldn't let this slide. I parked in the driveway, my hands still gripping the wheel, my breathing uneven. I didn't storm inside. I didn't flip the house upside down in fury. No, I sat there, fingers drumming against the leather steering wheel, my thoughts sharp as a blade. If she had gone this far to lie, cheat, and steal from me, I needed to know everything. I pulled out my phone and dialed Marcus. Marcus had been my best friend since college. He was the one person I could always rely on, the one person who wouldn't try to sugarcoat anything. Hey man, aren't you supposed to be on a... She lied to me. My voice was quiet, deadly calm. Jason was never in the hospital. She took the trip without me. With Kellen. A beat of silence. Then, that be, Marcus inhaled sharply. Okay. Stay calm. What do you need? I need to know how deep this goes. I need to know what else she's been doing behind my back. Marcus was the kind of guy who had connections everywhere. Lawyers, IT guys, even a private investigator once, though that was for a completely different situation. If anyone could dig up something, it was him. Give me an hour, he said, his voice laced with steel. I'll call you back. I hung up and sat in silence for a long moment. My gaze traveled to the framed family picture on the living room wall. Jason, small and beaming between us, his toothy grin full of innocence. He had no idea what was happening. I exhaled sharply. This wasn't just about me. It was about him. I wouldn't let Sabrina's selfishness destroy our son's life. I grabbed my laptop and logged into our bank account. My heart pounded as I navigated through the statements, my gut tightening with every transaction I saw. Thousands. Sabrina had been draining our savings for months. There were withdrawals leading up to the trip. Large amounts, too large for everyday expenses. Where was the money going? Then I saw it. A transfer, several, actually, to a separate account. Not ours. Not joint. An account I had never seen before. My chest tightened. She had been funneling money away, planning something bigger than just a vacation. I slammed the laptop shut, my teeth grinding. She thought she could get away with this. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. Marcus, you're gonna want to sit down for this, he said, his tone grim. Just tell me. She's been planning this for a long time. That trip? That's just the tip of the iceberg. She's been meeting with a lawyer. My grip tightened around the phone. A divorce lawyer? Worse, a custody lawyer. The world tilted. My breath caught. What? She's been building a case against you. Fake claims of neglect. Documents that make her look like the primary caregiver. She's setting herself up to take Jason away from you. I stood there, frozen. My mind refused to process the words. No way. She wouldn't. But she would. She had already lied about our son being sick to manipulate me. She had stolen from me. She had taken a trip with another man right under my nose. Why wouldn't she try to take my son? My pulse roared in my ears, a white-hot fury burning inside me. You sure about this? I asked, my voice dangerously low. 100%. I got into some records. She's already in talks with a lawyer, trying to build something before she files. A slow, bitter laugh escaped me. She thought she was so clever. How much does she know that I know? I asked. Probably nothing yet. She's banking on you being clueless. I clenched my jaw. Good. Let her think that. I need to act before she does, I muttered, already forming a plan in my head. What are you thinking? First, I'm freezing our accounts. She's stolen enough from me. Second, I need a lawyer. A damn good one. I won't let her get Jason. I'll get you the best, Marcus promised. And third, I said, my voice like steel, when she gets back, I'm going to destroy every single one of her lies. I hung up and immediately called my bank. Within minutes, I had frozen all joint accounts, canceled her credit cards, and cut off every financial access she had. If she wanted money now, she'd have to crawl for it. Then I dialed a number I never thought I'd have to call. Hello? A crisp female voice answered. Michelle? I asked. Yes, this is Michelle. How can I help you? I need a divorce lawyer, I said. And I need to make sure my wife never gets her hands on my son. Silence. Then, let's talk. I hung up and exhaled slowly, my pulse still racing. Sabrina thought she was 10 steps ahead. She had no idea I was about to take everything away from her. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was war. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, Sabrina, standing on that cruise deck, drink in hand, laughing like a woman without a care in the world. Beside her, Kellen, his hand resting on her hip, a smug grin plastered across his face. She thought she won, but she had no idea what was coming. By morning, I was done feeling sorry for myself. I had already set my plan in motion, freezing our accounts, cutting off her financial access, and hiring Michelle, one of the best divorce attorneys around. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I needed more. I needed evidence. Hard, undeniable proof of everything she had done. I grabbed my laptop and went back to our bank statements. The secret account she had been funneling money into kept nagging at me. I knew she had stolen from me, but where exactly was all that money going? I clicked into each transaction, my stomach twisting with every line I read. Luxury shopping, 5-star hotels, dinners at high-end restaurants, and then a down payment. My heart slammed into my ribs. I clicked on the transaction details. The recipient? A real estate agency. My breath caught. Sabrina had bought a house. Not with me. Not for our family. No, this was her escape plan. Her and Kellen's. I sat back in my chair, gripping the edge of the desk as a wave of anger washed over me. She had been planning to leave me long before this trip. I checked the date of the transaction. 2 months ago. She had signed the deal weeks before she even told me about the cruise. She wasn't just a liar. She was a thief. A cold, calculated one. I needed more. If she had gone this far, what else had she done? I called Marcus. Tell me you found something. Oh, I found a lot, he said, his voice grim. Check your email. I sent you everything. I opened my laptop again, my fingers shaking as I clicked on the email attachment. And then, I saw it. Hotel receipts. Dozens of them, over the past year. All for Sabrina and Kellen. She hadn't just started this affair. She had been cheating on me for over a year. I stared at the screen, feeling numb. I had spent all that time working late shifts, sacrificing sleep, making sure Jason had everything he needed. And she was out spending my money on hotel rooms for her and her boyfriend. My phone buzzed again. And here's the worst part, Marcus said. There's worse? I muttered, barely holding it together. She's been talking to Kellen about getting full custody of Jason. I froze. She told him she wants you completely out of the picture. She doesn't want you to have shared custody. She wants Jason all to herself. My vision blurred with rage. She thinks she can steal my son from me? She's building a case, man. That's why she's been playing the loving mother role in public, while you're the absent dad, working all the time. She's been setting up witnesses, neighbors, her family, making sure everyone sees her as the perfect parent. I clenched my jaw. But she doesn't have anything on me. Not yet, Marcus said. But she's trying to make it look like you're unstable, that you work too much to be present, that Jason would be better off with her. That's why she left you behind, so she could play the perfect mom on vacation while you look like the dad who didn't come along. I exhaled sharply. She underestimated me. Damn right she did, Marcus said. But we need to move fast. You need to show the courts that you are the stable parent, that you're the one taking care of Jason while she's out playing house with Kellen. I will, I promised. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Mr. Langley, Jason's school counselor. Mr. Langley, it's me, Jason's father, I said when he answered. I need to talk to you about something important. He agreed to meet me that afternoon. I arrived at the school and sat down in his office, my hands clasped together to stop them from shaking. What's going on? He asked, concern written all over his face. I took a deep breath. I just found out my wife has been planning to leave me for another man, and she's trying to take Jason away from me. His expression darkened. That's serious, he said. She's going to try and paint me as an absent father, I continued. But you know me, Mr. Langley. You've seen me at school events, parent-teacher meetings. I've always been involved in Jason's life. Yes, you have, he agreed. Jason adores you. He talks about you all the time. Would you be willing to write a statement? Something that proves I've always been an active part of his life? He nodded without hesitation. Absolutely. I'll write everything down. Relief flooded through me. This was the first step. After I left the school, I called Michelle, my attorney. I want to go for full custody, I told her. She was silent for a moment. That's a big step. Are you ready for this? I don't have a choice, I said. Sabrina is a liar, a thief, and she abandoned our son to be with another man. She doesn't deserve custody. Michelle's voice was firm. Then we fight, and we make sure you win. I hung up and took a deep breath. Sabrina had spent months, maybe years, planning my downfall. Now it was her turn to watch everything fall apart. She thought she was getting away with it. She had no idea that I was about to take everything away from her. The morning light crept through the blinds, illuminating my bedroom in a dull, suffocating glow. But I wasn't asleep. I hadn't slept since last night, since I discovered just how deep Sabrina's betrayal went. She didn't just lie. She didn't just cheat. She was trying to erase me from my own son's life. And I wasn't going to let her. I sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, phone buzzing, legal documents scattered across the surface. My coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but I barely noticed. Every second counted now. Michelle, my attorney, had already begun preparing the custody case, but I needed more. I needed every scrap of evidence, every damning piece of proof, to show exactly what kind of person Sabrina was. I dialed Marcus. Any updates? I asked as soon as he picked up. Yeah, he said, his voice edged with urgency. And you're not gonna like it. I gritted my teeth. Just tell me. Sabrina is already moving assets. She's trying to separate everything, cars, accounts, even the house. And she's been in contact with her lawyer again. They're getting ready to file first. That hit like a punch to the gut. If she filed first and controlled the narrative, it would make things harder for me. Not happening, I muttered. I'm filing before she even steps off that damn cruise ship. Marcus exhaled. Good. Because there's more. Kellen? He's been talking, bragging, actually, telling people that Sabrina is leaving you and moving in with him. He thinks they've won, man. I gripped my phone tighter. Not for long. Sabrina thought she had everything planned, that she could steal my money, my son, and my dignity without consequence. She had no idea I was already 10 steps ahead of her. I closed my laptop and headed out. I needed to handle the custody issue first. I walked into Jason's school later that afternoon, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. Mr. Langley, Jason's counselor, greeted me with a sympathetic nod. I've written everything you asked for, he said, handing me a neatly typed document. I skimmed the words, my chest tightening. Father is consistently present in Jason's life. Attends school meetings, sports events, and parent-child activities. Engaged, loving, and actively involved in Jason's academic and emotional development. This was gold. Thank you, I said, shaking his hand. This means everything to me. He hesitated, then added, Jason talks about you a lot. He admires you. Whatever happens, he needs you to stay strong. I swallowed the lump in my throat and nodded. I wouldn't let him down. Next stop, the courthouse. By the time I walked into Michelle's office, my decision was final. I want full custody, I told her, handing her the documents from the school. She adjusted her glasses and nodded. Good. This strengthens your case. I also need to move quickly, I added. Sabrina's trying to file first. Michelle smirked. Let her try. We'll have our case ready before she even steps off that ship. With her fraud, infidelity, and the fact that she abandoned Jason for a vacation, we have more than enough to turn the tables. I exhaled. This was happening. Really happening. We'll file in the morning, she assured me. You'll serve her the papers before she even has a chance to act. I nodded, a bitter sense of satisfaction creeping in. Sabrina was about to get the shock of her life. That night, I sat on the couch, Jason curled up beside me, watching his favorite cartoon. He had no idea how much his world was about to change. "Daddy, are we still going on our trip?" he asked, glancing up at me. My chest ached. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to pack his bags and take him somewhere far away from all of this. But I couldn't. Not yet. "Not this one, buddy," I said gently, running a hand through his hair. "But we'll go on an even better one soon. Just you and me." He grinned. "Promise?" "Promise." As he turned back to his show, I stared at the cruise photo still open on my phone. Sabrina thought she was on the vacation of a lifetime. She had no idea that, back home, her entire plan was falling apart. The next morning, Michelle called me first thing. "It's done," she said. "We filed first. And we've frozen all marital assets. She has no access to your money anymore." I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. When does she find out? The moment she lands. A cruel satisfaction spread through me. The woman who spent months planning her betrayal was about to return to nothing. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from Sabrina. "Hey babe, we just landed. Can't wait to see you and Jason. Hope everything is okay. Love you. Red heart." I laughed. Out loud. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because within minutes, she was about to get the divorce papers. And when she opened them, she would realize her nightmare had just begun. Final thoughts before she walks into the trap. I wasn't the man she thought I was. I wasn't weak. I wasn't blind. And most importantly, I wasn't going to let her win. Sabrina had spent months scheming, planning, and playing me for a fool. But now, it was her turn to lose everything. I stood by the window, my arms crossed, watching the driveway. The sun had barely begun to set, casting a golden hue over the quiet street. Any minute now. Any minute. Sabrina was coming home. Or at least, she thought she was. I had imagined this moment for days. The exact second she would step through that door, her usual smug expression intact, expecting to wrap her arms around me like nothing had happened. As if she hadn't stolen from me. As if she hadn't lied to me. As if she hadn't spent a week wrapped around another man, laughing and drinking while I thought my son was dying. She had no idea what was waiting for her on the other side of that door. The divorce papers sat neatly on the kitchen counter. A thick envelope with her name on it. It was the first thing she would see when she walked in. The knock came exactly when I expected. Light. Almost hesitant. She was back. I took my time walking to the door. I wanted her to feel the weight of the silence. The absence of the warm, welcoming home she had taken for granted. When I finally opened it, there she stood, fresh from her betrayal, wearing that same dress from the cruise pictures. Her dark hair was still perfectly curled, her skin tanned from the sun. She looked like she had just stepped out of paradise. "Hey, babe," she said, smiling. "I missed you so much." I didn't smile back, didn't move. For the first time, I saw her face shift. A flicker of uncertainty passed through her eyes, but she quickly covered it up with a forced laugh. "You're acting weird," she teased. "Aren't you going to hug me? Go inside." My voice was cold, unforgiving. She hesitated. Then, with a nervous chuckle, she brushed past me. That was her first mistake, because the moment she stepped into that house, she saw the envelope. She stopped, blinked, and then she turned to look at me. "What's this?" she asked, her smile faltering. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "Enjoying this?" "Go ahead," I said. "Open it." I watched as she carefully picked up the envelope, her fingers trembling slightly. She slid out the papers, her eyes scanning the first page. Divorce petition. Her breath hitched. She looked up at me. What is this? What does it look like?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. Her eyes darted over the words, her face paling with every passing second. Then, she laughed. A short, breathy sound. "Okay," she said, shaking her head. "I get it. You're upset. But, baby, let's just talk about this. You're overreacting." Overreacting. She lied about our son being in the hospital, She stole my money. She went on vacation with another man. She tried to erase me from Jason's life. And I was the one overreacting? I laughed. Louder. Colder. You think this is a joke? I asked. You really thought you could do all of this and come back like nothing happened? Her smile wavered. I saw her swallow. Listen, she started, her voice shifting into that soft, manipulative tone she always used when she wanted to control a situation. I know you're hurt, but let's just sit down and talk. This is ridiculous. You stole from me, Sabrina. I cut her off. You drained our accounts. You paid for that trip using my money. And then, you had the audacity to bring him with you. Her lips parted slightly. She blinked. I didn't steal, she stammered. I just moved some things around. For us. For our future. Our future? I let out a bitter chuckle. No, you weren't planning a future with me. You were planning one with him. She flinched. Good. And just in case you think you can manipulate your way out of this, I continued, I know about the house. The one you put a down payment on. Her entire face drained of color. Don't even try, I snapped. I have proof. I have bank records, real estate transactions, everything. Her breathing grew uneven. Okay, wait, she whispered, her voice shaking now. Let's just take a second to breathe. I get that you're mad, but you're making a mistake. Jason needs his family together. And there it was. The desperation. The last card she had to play. Jason? Now you care about Jason? I asked, stepping closer. Because from what I remember, you had no problem lying about him being sick, just so you could sneak off on your little vacation. She inhaled sharply, her lips pressing into a thin line. She knew she was losing control. I was going to tell you the truth, she muttered. No, you weren't, I said. You were planning to file first. You were building a fake custody case against me. You were setting me up to lose my own son. Her eyes widened. I knew, and she finally understood that she had lost everything. I already filed, Sabrina, I said, my voice like steel. I froze the accounts. I secured my custody case. You have nothing left. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't falling for it. You can't do this to me, she whispered. No, Sabrina, I said, my voice cold. You did this to yourself. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. She had nowhere to run. And for the first time, she realized she had lost. She thought she was coming home. She had no idea she was walking straight into her downfall. Sabrina stood frozen in the center of the living room, divorce papers clutched in her shaking hands. Her face was a battlefield of emotions. Shock, fear, denial. The same woman who had spent months orchestrating my downfall was now standing in the wreckage of her own destruction. I took a step forward, slowly, deliberately, letting the weight of the silence press down on her. You don't look so happy now, I said. My voice was eerily calm, but inside, a storm raged. She blinked rapidly, her mind scrambling for a response. I could almost hear the gears turning, the desperate attempt to find a way out. You can't be serious, she stammered. This isn't right. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, I interrupted, arms crossed. You lied about our son being sick to get rid of me. You stole from me. You cheated on me. I took another step forward. And now you think you can stand there and beg for a conversation? She inhaled sharply, stepping back like she was afraid of what I might say next. I didn't steal from you, she said, her voice cracking. You drained our accounts, Sabrina. I shot back. You funded your little vacation, your shopping sprees, and even the down payment on the house with my money. But don't worry, I already froze everything. Whatever you had left, it's gone. Her lips parted slightly, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. You froze the accounts, she whispered. The moment I found out what you were up to, I confirmed. You have nothing left. A panicked breath escaped her lips as her mind caught up to reality. No, you can't do this to me, she muttered. You have to at least let me explain. Explain? I laughed bitterly. You mean lie? Because I've heard enough of those to last a lifetime. Her fingers gripped the divorce papers like they might crumble in her hands. She wasn't prepared for this. She had walked into this house expecting to manipulate her way back in, to feed me some pitiful excuse, to wrap her arms around me and pretend everything was normal. But this wasn't her story anymore. "You're throwing away everything over one mistake," she said, her voice rising. I arched a brow. "One mistake?" I repeated. "Is that what you call months of stealing, cheating, and scheming? One mistake?" She opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. "You're not sorry, Sabrina," I said, my voice firm. "You're sorry you got caught." She swallowed hard. "I still have rights," she whispered. "You can't just take everything away from me." I smirked, shaking my head. "That's where you're wrong." I walked to the table, picked up another envelope, and handed it to her. She stared at it suspiciously before peeling it open, her eyes scanning the contents. I watched as her face fell apart. "Custody," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I filed for full custody of Jason," I said, watching the panic spread across her features. "And guess what? I have proof that you abandoned him for an entire week while you played house with your little boyfriend." Her breathing grew ragged. She hadn't expected this. "No, you can't take Jason from me." "Why not?" I challenged. "You were ready to take him from me. You were building a fake custody case against me, weren't you?" She visibly flinched. She knew I had her. "That's not," she started, but I cut her off. "Save it," I said. "I have witnesses. Jason's school counselor, teachers, neighbors, people who actually see me in his life, not you." Tears welled in her eyes. She was losing. "Please," she whispered, "don't do this." I scoffed. "You weren't worried about Jason when you were on that cruise, were you?" I asked. She shook her head rapidly, desperate now. "I made a mistake," she choked out. "I know I messed up, but I didn't think you'd actually leave me." I blinked. Was she serious? "You planned an entire life without me, Sabrina," I said, exhaling sharply. "You paid for a house behind my back. You emptied our accounts. You cheated. You lied." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "So tell me, how am I the one leaving you when you already left me a long time ago?" She gasped, her breath shuddering. No, I cut in. "You made your choice. And now, you get to live with it." Silence. She dropped onto the couch, hands covering her face. For the first time, she realized she had truly lost. Her family couldn't save her. Kellen couldn't save her. And I wouldn't save her. She had burned our life to the ground. Now she was the one standing in the ashes. I turned toward the door. "Where are you going?" she asked, voice hoarse. I didn't even look back. "To pick up Jason," I said. "To bring him home. Because unlike you, I actually put him first." Her sobs followed me as I walked out. And for the first time since this all began, I felt free. I drove in silence, my hands gripping the wheel as I made my way to Jason's school. My heart was pounding, but not from nerves, not anymore. For the first time since this nightmare began, I was in control. Sabrina had spent months plotting behind my back, scheming, stealing, manipulating. But in just a few days, I had shattered her entire plan. She thought she could blindside me with a divorce and steal my son away like I was some disposable afterthought. But now she was sitting in our house, broken and desperate, with nothing. And I wasn't done yet. When I pulled into the school parking lot, Jason was already waiting outside with his teacher. He spotted my car and broke into a huge grin, waving excitedly. That smile, that innocence, was the only thing that mattered now. "Daddy!" he shouted, running toward me as I got out of the car. I crouched down and scooped him up, holding him close. His small arms wrapped around my neck, and for the first time in days, I felt something ease in my chest. "Hey, buddy," I murmured, rubbing his back. "I missed you," he said. "Are we going on our trip now?" The question stabbed at me. He didn't know. He had no idea that the trip he had been looking forward to was nothing more than a cover for his mother's betrayal. I set him down gently, forcing a smile. "Not this trip, buddy," I said. "But I promise, we're gonna have an even better one. Just me and you." His little face lit up, and that was all I needed to know. I was making the right choice. The teacher, Miss Dawson, approached with a soft smile. "It's good to see you, Mr. Carter," she said. "It's good to be here," I replied. She hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "I just wanted to say, I heard about what's going on." My stomach clenched. "What do you mean?" She glanced down at Jason, who was distracted by a bug crawling on the pavement. Then she lowered her voice. "Sabrina came to the school a few weeks ago," she said. "She asked for documentation, things that would prove she was Jason's primary caregiver." Cold rage spread through me. "She was already trying to take him," I murmured. Miss Dawson nodded. "But I knew something felt off," she continued. "Jason talks about you all the time. You're the one who brings him to school, who helps him with projects, who shows up to every event. So I told her we don't release that kind of information without both parents' consent." A flicker of relief washed over me. At least someone had seen through her lies. "Thank you," I said, meaning it. She gave me a reassuring nod. "I just want what's best for Jason. He deserves stability." "And he's going to have it," I said firmly. "I won't let her take him from me." The ride home was peaceful, Jason chattering about his day, completely oblivious to the storm that was brewing. That was how it should be. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my body was tense again. Sabrina was still inside. I got out first, glancing toward the house. The living room light was still on. She was waiting. Jason unbuckled himself and climbed out of the car, stretching his arms. "Mommy's home," he said cheerfully. The words sent a sharp sting through my chest. Not for long. I took his hand and walked inside. Sabrina was standing in the middle of the room, her eyes red, the divorce papers still lying on the coffee table like an open wound. "Jason, sweetheart," she breathed, forcing a smile. "Come here." Jason let go of my hand and ran to her, hugging her waist. She clung to him like he was the last thing tethering her to this life. I let them have their moment. Not for her, but for him. After a few seconds, she pulled back and looked at me. "Can we talk?" "Alone?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. I exhaled sharply. "Go to your room, buddy," I said to Jason. "I'll come tuck you in soon." He nodded and ran off, completely unaware of the battlefield he was leaving behind. The second his door clicked shut, Sabrina's mask crumbled. "Please," she said, stepping forward. "Don't do this." I stared at her, unimpressed. "Do what?" I asked. "Take Jason away from me." I tilted my head. "You mean the way you were planning to take him from me?" Her lips trembled. "I was scared," she said. "I knew things weren't working between us. I thought, if I left first, I could make things easier for Jason." I let out a humorless laugh. "Easier?" I repeated. "You lied about him being in the hospital, you drained our savings, and you ran off with your boyfriend. But sure, let's talk about how much you cared about making things easier for him." She swallowed hard. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "No, Sabrina," I said. "You made choices. And now, you're dealing with the consequences." She ran a shaky hand through her hair. "But you don't have to take everything from me," she pleaded. "You can't cut me out of his life." I took a deep breath. "That's not my decision," I said. "That's the court's." Her face collapsed. "No," she whispered. "You had every opportunity to be a good mother, a good wife," I continued. "And instead, you chose to lie, steal, and cheat. I won't let you drag Jason through that." She shook her head rapidly, panic setting in. "You don't mean that," she said. "You still love me. I know you do." I stared at her, long and hard. "I stopped loving you the second you walked onto that cruise without me." Her mouth parted slightly. For the first time, she knew there was no coming back from this. I turned toward the hallway. "You should start packing," I said, "because this is the last night you'll ever spend in this house." And with that, I walked away, leaving her standing there, alone. I stood outside Jason's room, listening to his soft, steady breathing. The innocence in his sleep was something Sabrina would never understand. She had spent so much time plotting, scheming, and betraying that she lost sight of what mattered most, our son. But I hadn't. I pushed open the door slightly and stepped inside, careful not to wake him. His small hands clutched the stuffed dinosaur I had bought him last Christmas. His chest rose and fell in perfect rhythm, his world still untouched by the destruction happening just outside his room. "I promise, buddy," I whispered. "I'll protect you from this mess. You'll never have to suffer because of her choices." I ran a hand gently over his hair before stepping back and closing the door softly. He deserved better than this, and I was going to make sure he got it. When I walked back into the living room, Sabrina was still there. She sat slumped on the couch, her face pale, her shoulders hunched like the weight of her own actions had finally crashed down on her. The divorce papers still sat on the coffee table, as if mocking her, as if daring her to accept the reality of what she had done. She looked up when she heard my footsteps. Her eyes were red, rimmed with tears, but I didn't care. She didn't get to cry. Not after everything. "Did you mean what you said?" she asked, her voice hoarse. I tilted my head. "Which part?" "That you don't love me anymore." I exhaled sharply, running a hand over my face. I wasn't going to entertain this. She didn't deserve my patience anymore. "Sabrina," I said, my tone even, "this isn't about feelings. This isn't about whether I still love you or not. This is about the fact that you burned this marriage to the ground, and now you're sitting here crying in the ashes, acting like you didn't light the match." She flinched, but I didn't stop. "You lied to me about Jason being in the hospital. You drained our accounts. You took a trip with another man. And the whole time, you were planning to take my son away from me." Her lips trembled, but I could tell she had nothing left to say. "So no, Sabrina," I continued. "I don't love you anymore. Not even a little bit." She covered her mouth with her hand, but I had no sympathy left for her. She had made her bed. Now she had to sleep in it. I walked past her and grabbed my phone. I had one more thing to do before this chapter was officially closed. "Who are you calling?" she asked, panic creeping into her voice. "Your father," I said. Her eyes widened. "No, wait." But I didn't stop. The phone rang twice before he answered. "Hello?" "Mr. Calloway," I said, my voice calm. "I need you to come pick up your daughter." Silence. Then, "Excuse me?" "She's not staying here anymore," I continued. "She made her choices, and now she has to live with them. I need her out of my house by the morning." A long pause. "I understand," he finally said. I almost laughed. Of course he did. He had known. He had enabled her. They all had. They had stood by, watching her plan my downfall, and now they were just as guilty as she was. "I'll be there in an hour," he muttered before hanging up. I put the phone down and looked at Sabrina. She was shaking. You don't have to do this," she whispered. "Yes, I do," I said. "You don't get to stay here. You don't get to pretend everything is fine. Pack your things, Sabrina. You're leaving." She looked around, as if searching for something, some way to stop this. "But where am I supposed to go?" she asked, voice cracking. "Not my problem," I said simply. Her breath hitched, and for the first time, I saw true fear in her eyes. She thought she could cheat, steal, and lie her way into a new life. She never expected to lose everything in the process. She slowly stood up, her body tense, and turned toward the stairs. "I'll pack," she muttered. I didn't respond. I just watched as she walked away, her footsteps heavy, like she was dragging her own regret behind her. I sank onto the couch and exhaled. The tension that had lived in my chest for weeks was finally loosening. She was really leaving. And tomorrow, Jason and I would wake up in a house that no longer belonged to a liar. An hour later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to see Mr. Calloway standing there, his face unreadable. Behind him, Sabrina's mother sat in the passenger seat, staring at the house she had once visited so many times. "Where is she?" he asked. I didn't say a word. I just stepped aside. Sabrina came down the stairs, dragging 2 suitcases behind her. She had changed into a hoodie and jeans, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her face was puffy, her eyes hollow. She looked defeated. "Dad," she whispered. He didn't respond. He just stepped forward and grabbed one of her suitcases. She hesitated before turning back to me. "Jason," she started. "He's asleep," I interrupted. "And we're not doing this tonight." Her lips pressed into a thin line, and I could tell she wanted to argue. But she had no fight left. "I'll call him tomorrow," she mumbled. I didn't respond. She slowly stepped out the door, pausing on the porch. "I loved you, you know," she murmured. I stared at her. "No," I said. "You loved what I could give you. You loved using me. But love? You don't even know what that means." She swallowed hard, and without another word, she turned and walked to the car. I closed the door before she even got in, and just like that, she was gone. I locked the door and leaned against it, exhaling slowly. The house was quiet, peaceful. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking on eggshells. I went upstairs, checked on Jason one last time, then crawled into bed. Tomorrow, I would wake up without her, and it would be the first day of my new life. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting golden streaks across the bedroom walls. For the first time in what felt like forever, I woke up without the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. She was gone. No more lies. No more manipulation. No more waking up next to someone who had already left me long before she physically walked out that door. I lay there for a moment, listening to the silence of the house. It was different now. Lighter. The kind of quiet that didn't feel suffocating anymore. Then, a small voice broke through my thoughts. "Daddy?" I turned my head to see Jason standing in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, his stuffed dinosaur clutched under one arm. He looked so small, so unaware of how much had changed in the past 24 hours. I sat up and patted the bed beside me. "Come here, buddy." He hesitated before climbing in, settling against my side like he always did when he needed comfort. "Where's Mommy?" he asked softly. My chest tightened. I had rehearsed this moment in my head a dozen times, but now that it was here, it felt impossible to get the words out. "Mommy isn't living here anymore," I said gently. "She had to go stay somewhere else." He looked up at me, his brows furrowing. "Is she coming back?" I swallowed hard. "Not to live here, no." Silence. He shifted, gripping his dinosaur a little tighter. "Did she leave because of me?" The question hit me like a sledgehammer. "No," I said immediately, pulling him closer. "This is not your fault. This is something between me and Mommy. But you don't have to worry, okay? I'm always going to be here for you." He nodded slowly, processing the words in the way only a child could. "Can I still see her?" I hesitated. "We'll figure that out," I said carefully. "But for now, it's just me and you, buddy." He didn't say anything for a while. Then, after a long pause, he whispered, "I like it when it's just us." I froze. I hadn't expected that. "You do?" He nodded, his little fingers tracing patterns on the blanket. "Mommy was always mad," he said simply. "She didn't play with me like you do." A deep ache settled in my chest. He had noticed. He had always noticed. "I love you, Daddy," he said, curling into my side. I closed my eyes for a moment, steadying myself before pressing a kiss to the top of his head. "I love you too, kiddo." The rest of the morning was quiet, peaceful. I made pancakes, Jason's favorite. We sat at the table, just the two of us, laughing as he tried to flip one and ended up splattering batter everywhere. It was messy, chaotic, and completely perfect. No tension, no walking on eggshells. Just us. Halfway through breakfast, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Sabrina. I let it ring. Jason didn't notice. He was too busy shoving pancakes into his mouth like he hadn't eaten in days. But when the call ended, a text followed. "Sabrina, we need to talk about Jason. Call me." I sighed, setting my phone down. She didn't get to demand anything anymore. Jason was happy, safe, thriving, and I wasn't about to let her waltz back in and pretend to be the mother she had neglected to be for years. She could talk to my lawyer. Later that afternoon, I took Jason to the park. The sun was bright, the air crisp, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Jason ran ahead, his laughter echoing through the playground. I watched him, my heart full, knowing that no matter what happened next, I had already won. Sabrina had lost. She had lost her home. She had lost her comfortable life. She had lost me. But most importantly, she had lost the chance to be the mother Jason deserved. And that was something she would have to live with. I sat on a bench, stretching my arms over the backrest, letting the warmth of the sun sink into my skin. This was my new beginning, a life where I wasn't constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next betrayal, a life where Jason and I could be happy, without the weight of someone else's selfishness dragging us down. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. And as I watched my son play, his face glowing with joy, I knew one thing for sure. The best days of our lives were still ahead of us.